Good morning, North Central Arkansas. It is Monday, April 20th. The weather, you're going to have a high of about 66 today, so get out there and enjoy this beautiful day in the Ozarks. And for the second half of our show, we have in the studio Mr. Ike Yates with the Worm Farm out in Gassville. How you doing, Mr. Ike Yates?
Doing fine.
How's the Worm Farm doing?
Business is good. We got a lot of good customers that are starting to learn what organic gardening is with leaving the chemicals out.
And let's go into that a little bit. Your worm fertilizer is the most perfect fertilizer that I know of. It's something you can throw right on roses. You won't burn them up. You can use it in your everyday vegetation. People planting the gardens, what do they need to know about getting their garden started with some worm fertilizer?
Well, if you're going to do organic and everything, you got to get away from the chemicals. An awful lot of people are not aware that there's a lot of chemicals in some of the planting soils and stuff that are purchased at various stores and what have you. Which is all right. We've been doing it for a long time, but to be organic, you got to stay away from those chemicals. And we deal with people that planting and doing their business with plants and what have you. We know that their plants are heirloom plants, and you can use those for organic gardening. One of our best people that use this is Crossword Gardens. They're out in Pineville in Izard County, and he's also on the square. And if you want good plants without GMOs and what have you, that's where you want to go. Another one is over in Marion County, and they use an awful lot of our product over there, and they stay away from chemicals and GMOs.
And in those big fertilizers, I mean, all that is a lot of petroleum-based chemicals, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that's not the best thing to leave on old Mother Earth here for future growers. So,
not if you want to stay with a good organic food product, and that's, to me, is the main thought that you need to have here is the food that you purchase on the square and the food that you consume yourself doesn't have the chemicals in it. And you got to know who your people are that you're buying your fruit and vegetables and stuff from. And these two people that we deal with on the square, they're right across from the old-time restaurant. They're on the square.
And that's on Wednesdays.
On Wednesdays and Saturdays. And they got the two big red tents and his wife and young lady daughter that they have, and Joy and Beth Crotcheville. They do a fine job with their plants and what have you. And
now, do they just grow a big garden and have a lot of surplus, so you kind of get it as the growing season progresses, different stuff there?
No, he's got 3 very large greenhouses, and he has the plants, the heirloom plants, and he brings them there to the square, and you can rest assured that they are quality, and there's no GMOs, and you'll get a top-notch herb or plant for your garden. One of the things that we get from him each year, over many, is the black cherry tomato. And if you've never had one of those or some of the Russian black cherry or black tomatoes, the taste and flavor is beyond pale. The tomatoes in the supermarkets and everything, they're there, they do all right and everything, but if you want that flavor for that sandwich or the salad and everything, these are beyond comparison.
You say like a black tomato. Now that is interesting. I've had the yellow tomatoes because they're low on acidic levels. Are the black ones high on on acid or?
I'm not sure there. I just go for the flavor, and I want to make sure that I'm getting a good plant that hasn't been altered. Mm-hmm. And if you alter them, then you're getting away from the true heirloom plant. And the people that we deal with and the people that I recommend, they do just that.
Right on. Now, I want to get into the worm farm. It's up there on Highway 126, north of Highway 62. It's about, a mile down the road on your right?
Yeah. If you come to Gassville, if you're coming from Mountain Home and going west, then you'll come to the only street light in Gassville and make a right-hand turn, and we're 1 mile up the road just past the post office on the right. You'll see our sign there, and you turn in and go back to the back where we have what we call the worm barn, and that's where we keep all of our worms and where we let the worms manufacture the worm castings. And we have well over 8 to 12 million worms in various sizes. We keep impeccable books to keep track of the size of the worms and basically how many there are in each bucket so that we can glean off of that the worm castings, and then we package it and put it in plastic bags, and you can purchase it there, and it's 50 cents a pound, any way you want to take it. A lot of people bring their own tubs. We weigh it out, and you can get your worm castings there.
And you can sell it by the bag or the truckload.
Yes. Okay. We've had a little bit of trouble this year with the weather way it's been, with off and on and freezing and this way and that. And to maintain our worm farm, we have to have what we call the worm barn to maintain a certain temperature. So the worms are thinking it's 72 degrees all the time, and they think it's summer, and they'll produce and do what they do, and we watch that and monitor it 24/7.
And now, folks, I tell you what, I've been out there several times, and that is pretty fascinating to go look at. And they are welcome to come out there and look at your operation. You've had school children out there, as a matter of fact, I think, hadn't you?
Yes, we have tours and everything about that. We like to do this so that we can educate the public on what it is, how it's manufactured by the worms. We had one school bus come out that had all autistic and challenged kids, I call them. Some of them were upwards and 20 years old, but we had one young lady that was just frightened to death of a worm. And we had, each one of the kids had an adult with them, and we took them through the process and everything, and before it was all said and done, that young lady was holding a worm in her hands, and the smile on her face and what we had accomplished in helping this challenged person was just most rewarding. But any time you want to come out, you can give us a call. Our phone number is 405-6038, and you'll get a hold of my wife, Sandy, and you can come out there, and we'll take you through the whole work and show you our garden where we have all of her plants and everything. We already have radishes, spinach, cabbage, and sweet potatoes all up and growing, and we started those almost 2 months ago.
I know I've taken my daughter out there a couple times too, and there's more to it than just worms. And I'm going back to that those kids you had out there. I mean, you have chickens running around, you have an old mule out there, you have a couple goats, you have a beautiful garden. I've never seen a sunflower go beyond the roof and actually bend over in the head of one. I don't know how to describe it, but that thing was huge out at y'all's place last year. So
Yes, we've had a lot of fun experimenting with different plants and what have you, and we got started on this with the big sunflowers, and we had one that was almost 15 inches across and bent over, and we had used the worm castings for this sunflower, and another one that was about 8 feet from it. We didn't use that. We used normal, what's in the supermarkets and what have you, the stores that sell the chemicals and stuff, and they didn't set on any flowers at all to speak of. But this other one grew almost 14 foot tall.
that's a true story, folks. You can take any two plants identical, put one of them in the worm casting, put the other one in your normal dirt, and you will definitely see the difference. I'd say some plants is as much as double the yield just by using the little worm castings there. So it's a very good product. I guess Sandy's staying busy. Are y'all stocked up and ready to roll?
We trying to stay up with it. We're doing all right, and come on out. You'll probably find her today out in the worm barn, what we call working a pallet of a certain size of worms and everything, and feeding them again, and just doing our thing out there with the worm farm.
And we'll get into it a little bit after the break here, but the fishing, they are great for fishing. So let me try to figure out this keyboard here, and we'll go into break and return with Ike Yates at the Worm Farm. Good morning, North Central Arkansas. It's April 20th. It's going to be a high of 66 out there today, so y'all get out and enjoy the day. I do want to say thank you to Brewed Awakening Coffee. I forgot that. Thank you for the coffee, guys. It's great. 2 locations on 62 across from Flashbacks and at the hospital. Brewed Awakening Coffee. It's what gets me up and going every day. Back to it. We have Ike Yates from the Worm Farm in the studio, and Ike, there's just not enough time to talk about everything, but these worms are great for fishing, and you got a lot of fishermen coming out there buying them by the bucket loads.
Yes, we do. Most of the time the fishermen come out, and on a individual basis, we have a couple of them out there, and you get 13 worms that are ready to go fishing, from smaller ones right on up to a 7-inch. And some of the guides and stuff buy them what we call a bucket, and that has well over 300 to 400 worms in that, and then he gives them to his guides, and they go from there. And you can buy a bucket of worms for $25.
And folks, these worms understand. I've seen the insulated building, and it is enormous. That thing is just beyond insulated. I mean, it keeps the temperature perfect. And with that said, these are not like worms you go to the store and get out of the freezer. These things, when you pull them out of the bucket, they're good for fishing a little bit longer than your typical worms you can buy that other way.
And they're moving and they're wiggling and ready to go. We've had some pretty good stories told about some of our worms, and one of them got a 22-pound brown, and he stretched him out there just a little bit and everything, and pretty soon he was fishing again, and he caught another brown, and I thought, well, this is where the story starts. Well, what it amounted to is a legal limit for a brown is 1. Well, he took the bigger one and put it in the well and threw the other one back, so he didn't have to stretch him out there, but he was a little over 24 pounds.
Goodness.
We get a lot of fish.
And that is a balancing act. I mean, you have to keep the fishermen happy. You have to keep the gardeners happy. And these worms, understand, come from a cocoon. And it takes several weeks to get these. How long does it take for a worm to go from a little BB-sized cocoon to a mature worm?
If you come out there, we'll show you the band on a worm. I'm sure a lot of people who've seen a worm that's pretty good size, there's a band. In that band are upwards of 6 to 9 eggs, and in each egg there are 7 worms. So when you process and take these worms and give them the ideal working and eating environment and feed them, we feed them Purina worm chow, which is a product that we mix with the soil and stuff that we give to them, and that's where we multiply worms by the thousands. I make the joke to a lot of people that I tell them I have worms and I'm not taking anything for it. So they catch the joke on occasion, but if you want to see how they're done, how the garden grows, why, and all that, we're more than happy to show you our operation out there. Come out, just give a call, and most of the time we're down in the barn working the worms and doing our job there and taking the castings and stuff and putting on our own garden and staying with the I hate to say this, but there's a lot of chemicals going into our food and what have you, especially some of these huge farms and stuff like that. So,
Ike, one more time, how can the folks give you a call, and how do they get out to your place there?
Well, coming from Mountain Home, going west on 41262, turn right at the gas light right there next to McDonald's and the bank. Make a right-hand turn and go north on 126 and drive 1 mile and then turn right into the driveway and go all the way to the back to the worm farm there. Give us a call at 430-5746 or 405-6038.
All right, folks.